Hello everyone, and welcome back to Project Creatures. It's been over half a year since the last devlog, and in that time the game has gone through massive changes. This includes a new map, boss fights, new creatures, puzzles, and a lot more. I've spent a lot of time figuring out what I want the purpose of the game to be. So far the game has been aimless, focusing on leveling creatures just for the sake of leveling. No real goal was in mind. While I wanted to add a goal and reason to the game, I didn't want to make it linear and force the player down a path with no room for exploring. So I looked at games such as Breath of the Wild, where the final boss can be accessed right from the start, and the journey is getting strong enough to fight that boss. That sort of goal, where you have so much choice of how you want to explore and play before taking on that challenge, is what I wanted for Project Creatures. But for that to become a reality, I needed to rework the game slightly and add a few new features. The first step was recreating the map. The old map looked pretty, but didn't have any structure and wouldn't be able to support the type of game I want this to be. So I've remade the map to hold 4 different zones: the grasslands, the snowy plains, the scorching desert, and the rocky mountain. Each zone has its own small pool of creatures, helping break up the gameplay and stop it from feeling like woodland the whole time. Splitting it up into these zones also allows me to handcraft areas much easier, which is important for features that will be mentioned later in this video. Having these zones also helps me decide what creatures to create, as I can now specify what zone I'd like a creature to be in, and can theme the creature around the zone and colour palette, instead of just trying to fill up the world. It also gives me freedom to add VFX and more stylized lighting to areas, such as these falling leaves, or this glowing waterfall. The next step was creating boss fights for the game. Each zone will host one boss fight, meaning you can complete each zone one by one. Once all bosses are completed, there will be a final secret boss in the center of the map. These bosses are the goal of the game. I didn't want a complex goal for the game, as it's more about the journey. So each zone will have a boss you can fight, and how you get to that level is completely up to you. The first boss I created is Draxion. Inspired by dragons and dragonflies, this dragon type uses its 4 wings to glide around the battlefield, summoning dragon type, fire type, and mythic type moves. This is possibly one of my favourite creatures in the game so far, and I had a great time creating animations for it. To make the fight feel like a boss fight and not just a normal creature fight, I added a few little features to help it feel more impactful. The most obvious one being the scale of the creature. The bosses are set to almost 3 times the size of a standard creature, giving it a more intimidating look. I also edited the attack code for the bosses, making it immediately hostile to any owned creatures that are summoned, and changed the attack timings so the boss attacks are more frequent than standard creatures. I also added an intro animation to the boss so that it feels more like a boss encounter. Once the boss is defeated, it is reborn in its elemental form. This form boosts the boss's attack power and increases the attack frequency even more, making it much more difficult to defeat. These elemental forms can be used on your personal creatures by using a rare move called Elemental Merge. The only creatures that have this move so far are Draxion and Hopstrike. The elemental form for Hopstrike boosts the sprint speed, making it a speed demon for a short amount of time until the form runs out. To give the boss fights even more impact, I've added a music system to the game that plays a soundtrack for the boss fights. Currently I've been testing this with Zelda music as a placeholder, but later in development, when I have more money available, there will be custom soundtracks for the game. When you get to the second phase of the fight, the music also switches to a second phase version of the music, though I currently have Midir's theme from Dark Souls for testing. I have also added the ability for random open world music to play as you're walking around as well, changing up the soundtrack for day and night time to help give a better atmosphere to the game. All of these things combine to create a nice feeling boss fight, and I can't wait to add more to it in the future. As well as Draxion, I've added 2 new creatures in game, and I've one that needs animating. These creatures are the Frock line. This consists of the little rock frog Frock, its second phase Boltoad, and this guy, who will be added at a later date as I've not had time to animate him yet. These guys are the first rock types for the game and are still having their full movesets being developed, though I do enjoy Frog's attack animation and the community on Discord seem to love him. Jedi worked her magic again and created the elemental variant of Hop Strike. Unlike Draxion, which is just a texture change for now, I wanted to give Hop Strike a different feel when they're in their elemental form. And having these lightning bolts coming off the arms looks really good when you're moving around at high speeds. I do want to have Draxion's model change when it goes into elemental form, similar to Hop Strike, but I want to figure out how I'd like that to look before putting it into production. The creatures have some new defensive moves added to the game. This includes a wall ability, which allows you to protect yourself from ranged attackers by bringing up a wall in front of you, and the retreat move, which forces you backwards. Great for getting out the way when using ranged attacks on creatures such as Flamimbat. I also added buff moves that temporarily increase one stat, helping to give you an edge in a fight. I'm trying to add more variety to the moves so that when you go into battle, you have to decide what moves are going to suit your playstyle the best. The inventory system has finally been started. This system will be quite basic as it's mainly to hold items such as catch chances and healing items, but once it's finished, it'll be the glue that holds most of the game together. Currently the inventory only has 2 functional items, the catch chances and the ultra catch chances. This means that your catch chances are no longer infinite and you will have to purchase more when you run out. You can purchase more using the in-game currency, which you can earn from completing tasks or defeating creatures. The shop system is not added yet, but will be in future updates. The Ultra Chance works as an instant capture and is incredibly rare to find in the open world. I plan to add more items down the line, but for now I'm focusing on the items currently on screen right now. The healing items will be usable outside of battle to help heal up your creatures, but you will also be able to place one healing item on a creature in future to use at your discretion, meaning you could fully heal your creature during a boss fight if your creature has a full heal on it. Once more items are added to the game, this will add a new element to battles where you can give your creatures temporary buffs using items as well as moves. The main way of getting stronger items in the open world will be the new puzzles added to the map. These puzzles will require you to have the creatures needed at your disposal, giving players a reason to catch new creatures. Some puzzles may even come with mini bosses, though I'm not sure on that yet. The puzzles are still a fairly new concept for me, and while they are now supported in-game, I still need to research ideas to make them more fun and challenging. I wanted to add these to give players more to do in the open world than just fighting creatures, giving a new layer to the game, as my main issue currently is the constant fighting can get repetitive, especially at lower levels. I also want to fix the movement speed at some point and upgrade some VFX to make fights cooler and more intense. Some extra little bits I've done is also add new VFX when spawning creatures and added a subtle screen shake to a lot of the moves. This is purely cosmetic and gives the game a slightly more polished feel. I also fixed most of the networking issues that plagued the previous builds. From this point onwards, I'm planning on adding more to the inventory system, cleaning up the boss fights more, adding more points of interest to the grasslands, and creating some new puzzles. Once I'm happy with the grasslands, I'll move on to the desert and begin work there, as that will need a bunch of new creatures and features to help feel unique. I'm really excited to flesh out the other areas, as I've only looked at grasslands this whole time, and that's the progress so far. Future devlogs will possibly be shorter than this so that they come out more frequently. I hope you all enjoyed. If you could hit that like and subscribe, that would be lovely. You can wishlist the game on Steam and join our Discord to get sneak peeks to new features, as I usually post progress on there. I'm working on ways people can help support the game, so that should be around sometime in the future. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah. Bye.